Allah cursed adultery 36
debt
payment like this. I have a link to a playlist.
La ilaha illallah, your wife or wives. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm back from Istanbul. I had an amazing time. Honestly, I'm feeling a little bit ill, but I really wanted to make another reaction video. I want to start uploading at least twice a week, maybe even 3 times a week. That's the aim. My bad. So this video today that we're going to be reacting to is 10 worst haram things in Islam. I don't think the person who made this video is actually Muslim, so it will be very interesting to see how accurate this information is. Obviously, I'm not a scholar. I don't know every single thing about Islam. Obviously, I'm a revert, fairly new revert at that. But I think if anything, you know, hopefully it references certain hadiths or verses, etc. And if anything sort of sticks out as obviously wrong, then I'm going to flag it. But I think it'll be interesting to see from a non-Muslim perspective what they've found out from their own research. Hopefully it's not like a biased video. Hopefully it's just spitting stray facts, and yeah, let's get into it.
You've probably heard the term haram, and the term haram refers to what is forbidden in the religion of Islam according to Islamic law. Here are 10 things that are considered haram in the religion of Islam. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and people from all backgrounds and faiths watch our videos. But these things in this episode that I'm going to share with you, you're definitely going to want to avoid them if you want to be a really good Muslim, or if you're just curious to know what Islam views as haram. Be sure to watch from 10 all the way to number 1 so you don't miss any of these. Well, let's just jump right in. Starting at number 10, we have mistreating your wife. So mistreating your spouse is one of the biggest sins, and it's considered haram in Islam. Now, the Prophet Muhammad, he taught people that they need to be very friendly and kind to their wives. According to Muslim belief, Prophet Muhammad even stated that you need to try to make your spouse your best friend. In a hadith narrated by Al-Tirmidhi, it says, the Prophet said, the best of you are those who are the best to their wives, and I am the best of you to my wives. The next thing considered haram in Islam,
it's not only your wives, obviously, it's all of the females in your family. So your mother, your sisters, your wife or wives. If you have multiple, all of the females in your family. Obviously, if you have a daughter, you're meant to treat them well. As a Muslim, you're meant to treat everybody well, as long as they're not saying terrible things about Islam or attacking you, etc. Then you're meant to treat them well. I mean, obviously he's quoted something, I think it was a verse. The main thing to say about Islam is that it's literally just common sense and logic and reasoning. A lot of what Islam says is somewhat obvious. I'm sure he'll touch on it, but things such as alcohol, gambling, interest, stuff like this, it's logical to just, instead of just having it in small quantities, maybe you can handle that. But if you extrapolate that across society, there are always a significant number of people who have addictive personalities and who will struggle to limit the amount of time limit the amount of money they gamble with or spend on alcohol, etc., etc. So Islam gives you a solution. And the solution is to cut it at the source, cut it at the root, and just avoid it completely.
Is tattoos. Now, there's a hadith that says this: may Allah curse the women who do tattoos and those from whom tattoos are done, those who pluck their eyebrows and those who file their teeth for the purpose of beautification and alter the creation of Allah. Specifically, that's found in Al-Bukhari Al-Libas, number 5587. Charging interest is at number 8.
That makes complete sense as well, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us how he wanted to create us, and why are we changing his creation? Are we saying, I think it would be better if if your creation was done this way? Obviously, you're arguing with God at that point, so it's a bit ridiculous. Obviously, man's got tattoos. But this is from when I wasn't a revert, so I would definitely recommend never getting any tattoos. My outlook on tattoos now, yeah, I think in some instances, like, you know, it makes you look cool or whatever, but it's not worth it. If you know that it's wrong, just don't do it. Now, if you're from a place of ignorance where you don't know that it's wrong to do, like I thought it was just cool, trendy, whatever, then it's not really your fault. But as soon as you become educated on the matter and know that it's a wrong thing to do, and you do it, then it's haram. Obviously, if you don't know and you do it, the act is still haram, but your intentions are not haram, if that makes sense.
And the term riba refers to interest, and this is something that is completely haram in Islam, largely due to the fact that it makes poor people even poorer. So like if you owe money and you're charged interest, in the end you end up poor because you end up spending more money than you actually owed. Now in the hadith from Abdullah ibn Hamzallah, this is what is recorded that the Prophet Muhammad had said. The Prophet said, a dirham or riba which a man receives knowingly is worse than committing adultery 36 times. And you know, debt payment is what kills a lot of people, because if you owe $20,000 with interest, you probably owe closer to $25,000, $30,000 in some cases. Next time I gotta pay off a car loan or something, I'm gonna tell them, listen man, you're charging interest on that? That's haram.
They will tell you, I don't give a flying because I'm not Muslim. That's what they'll say to you. I like how he's actually referencing hadiths and verses. On the topic of interest or riba, that makes complete sense. You know, I actually, fun fact, or not really that fun, but I work in finance. I work in tech and finance, and although my job doesn't relate to interest or anything like that, I am looking at potentially moving out of this field. But what he said about interest, it makes perfect sense. You know, you have all of these new pay-in 3 or pay-in installment plans, and they charge ridiculous amounts of interest. Or even if it's like 0 interest, what happens if you don't pay it back? Well, guess what? They'll charge you interest. The whole point of that really, and how these companies make their money, is that they bank on you not paying on time, which means that they will get more and more money out of you.
Adultery and fornication coming at number 7. Now there's a passage in the Quran, Surah 17 verses 32 that says this, and do not approach unlawful sexual intercourse, indeed it is ever an immorality and is evil as a way. So of course, having relations outside of your marriage, as well as having intimate relations not being married, that's haram. Drinking alcohol is another big haram.
One of the central things in society is family. And once you have the marriage falling apart because somebody is having relations with someone outside of their marriage, that destroys the family. And I think that is one of the reasons why it's so frowned upon and it's so haram. You know, it can break up the whole family unit. Even from a biological standpoint, women who, you know, have a lot of relations, they find it very hard to pair bond after a certain number of partners. It doesn't affect men as much, but even so, like, if men have that sort of idea in their head that, you know, oh, I can have loads of different women, like, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for society. It's not healthy for marriages, and it's definitely not healthy for the kids who have to experience that as they grow up. So, you know, I used to be involved with Red Pill. I used to think, oh yeah, you're a man, you can do whatever you want. Bro, like, every man-made ideology is imperfect, and this is one of the things about Red Pill.
In Islam, and is found in the Quran, Surah 5 verses 90. There's a passage that says this, O you who have believed, indeed intoxicants, gambling, sacrifices on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows are but defilement from the work of Satan. So avoid it that you may also be successful. By the way guys, if you're finding this episode interesting, we do have more videos like this. I have a link to a playlist. Now moving on to number 5, slaughtering animals the wrong way. This is also haram. So if a Muslim is slaughtering an animal without saying Allah's name, it'll be considered haram. A person should say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Also, this is what the Quran has to say in Surah 6 verses 121. Eat not, O believers, of that meat on which Allah's name has not been pronounced at the time of slaughtering of the animal, for it is fisq, which is a sin. Most of you, even if you're not Muslim, probably knew this already.
On that point, I think this is actually one of the things that a lot of reverts find difficult, especially if you're in an area where there's not a wide range of different cultures and ethnicities and religions. Is finding halal meat or a halal butcher. It'll be very difficult. Like for me, I live in London, it's not too bad, but for somebody who, I don't know, lives in the countryside, in a rural area, they'll find it very difficult. Maybe they'll have to, I watched a documentary actually, it was in Australia or New Zealand, there was like these Maori native reverts, and what they did was go to a live market, buy, and they purchased like a lamb or something, and they slaughtered it themselves. That's one way that you can get around it, or obviously that's not super practical.
Eating pork, that is haram. Even if you use Allah's name during the slaughtering of
swine
a pig,
flesh,
eating pork is still going to be haram. Surah 5 verses 3 says this, prohibited to you are dead animals, blood, the flesh of swine, and that which has been dedicated to other than Allah, and those animals killed by strangling or by whoever is forced by severe hunger with no inclination to sin, then indeed Allah is forgiving and merciful. So yeah, very long passage that included the point that eating pork is haram in Islam. And number 3, we have suicide. In the Hadith, specifically Bukhari Janais 84, it says, "He who commits suicide by throttling shall keep on throttling himself in the hellfire forever. And he who commits suicide by stabbing himself shall keep on stabbing himself in the hellfire." Number 2.
So on that one, I mean, I don't actually know the complete reason for it. I think because from what I gather at least is that this life, this dunya, is a test, and if you kill yourself, you're basically terminating that test early. You will be judged until the day that you die, and all of your good deeds will be lined up against all of your bad acts. And so if you kill yourself, you're basically cutting that short. I don't know exactly why. It'd be interesting to find out. If anybody knows, leave it in the comments below.
A very big haram thing, making statues and pictures, especially when it comes to prophets of Islam. Now in the hadith narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, this is what it says. Allah's messenger said, "Those who make these images will be punished on the day of resurrection, and it will be said to them, make alive what you have created." And finally,
this is definitely something that I noticed as a revert walking into a mosque for the first time. You walk into a church, you see loads of different paintings of different either saints or Jesus, Mary, whoever. This was sort of plastered all over the church. But in a mosque, you don't see that at all.
Most Muslims would agree on this, that shirk is the biggest haram thing in the religion of Islam. Shirk refers to associating partners with Allah, and this is the most serious thing. It's said that the Prophet Muhammad said these words, "Shall I not tell you of the most serious of the major sins?" We said, "Of course, O Messenger of Allah." He said, "Associating anything in worship with Allah." Also, there's a verse in the Quran, Surah 4, verses 48, and this is what it has to say. "Indeed, Allah does not forgive association with Him, but He forgives what is less than that for him who He wills. And he who associates others with Allah has certainly fabricated a tremendous sin." So in the religion of Islam, only Allah can be seen or viewed or worshipped in the position of Allah. Nobody else or nothing else can be compared.
Obviously, I'm going to stop it there. Obviously, it's so obvious. Like, your creator should not be put alongside anybody or anything else. This is the one creator. La ilaha illallah. How can you worship something else or someone else and put them alongside God? That's shirk. But yeah, I thought that was a very enjoyable video. It's actually kind of, it's not necessarily taught me anything, but it's made me think, why are these things haram? And I think I've sort of thought it through, and most of them I know. There was that one, oh yeah, committing self removal or whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly why. If somebody knows, leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll just ask one of my Muslim friends. But yeah, I really liked how he referenced hadiths and referenced verses from the Quran. Yeah, not much else to say. If you want me to react to a specific video, let me know. Obviously, I get a lot of recommendations, a lot of suggestions, so I'm trying to get around to them. Try and do like one reaction a week, so you know, hopefully I can react to the video that you want me to, but it may take some time, so just be patient, bear with me. But yeah, no, really enjoy making these videos for you all. I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.